Welcome everyone to the first of our series of First Lego League Challenge Coaches Corners. I appreciate everyone taking some time out of your week to join us. I hope you find these are very helpful and will help get through the season a lot easier coming to these meetings. My name is Louis Rubo. I am the Team Development Education Specialist with First Nevada. I am also starting this year the First Lego League Program Delivery Partner. So I'm wearing kind of two hats going into this season. So if you have any questions about helping out with teams or anything you need help with in terms of First Lego League or First, please give me a shout. I'm going to talk about what these Coaches Corners are all about. So we're going to have 4 of them this season. Usually we have 5, but as you'll see, we kind of shortened the season this year. During the hour-long meetings, I'm going to just cover some of the administrative tasks that you need to cover with your team. I'm also going to discuss a bit of resources and best practices. This is also your opportunity to ask us questions. We do make these Coaches Corners for adults only, not because of the content, but really focusing more on the administrative side of things. So it's less interesting for the students involved, but the students are very much encouraged to attend, of course, our workshops where they get their chance to ask questions. As for some of our procedures here, you're welcome to mute yourself, and I do encourage you to mute yourself. Unless you want to ask a question, you can unmute yourself and go ahead and just speak your question out loud, or you're invited to use the chat. You can just throw your question into the chat, and if it's a short, easy one of our First Nevada people will answer it. Otherwise, we'll take a moment in between each of our sections and have an opportunity for me to kind of address your questions directly. We are going to record these sessions, so they will be available. It takes usually about a day-ish to make sure they get in the right place for you. As I'll speak in a moment, the presentation slides are also available for you to go through, and those presentation slides do include my notes as well. So with that said, let's get rolling. So as you enter into this, for a number of us, we are brand new coaches, and even for our veteran coaches, there's always changes, and there's an overwhelming amount of information out there. And very much when you approach First Lego League, especially your first year, it feels like you're drinking from a fire hose or this oversized fountain here. And it can be a bit much. I love the saying that Caroline Hansen told us once: everybody has to have their rookie year. And it's true. Everyone's got to go through that first year, the growing pains of learning the program and getting through it. However, once you get through it once, the idea is each year gets easier and easier. And really one of my goals with this Coaches Corners is to help you prioritize from that fountain or that fire hose of information, what really is the essential information? What is it that you absolutely need to do? What is the best practices for you to do? And hopefully it'll make the season a lot easier. And then when you come back as a veteran coach, each season is going to get easier and easier. And you're going to be the veteran coach that we look to find out what is your advice for how we solve problem X, Y, or Z. So one of the analogies I do give here is we are drinking from a fire hose. It will feel overwhelming. What I do ask is just learn what you can in the moment, and maybe just a little bit, but that's okay. You're still drinking from the water. Over time, you'll be able to understand and digest and kind of fully embrace all the information and figure out how it comes together. So for now, just kind of absorb what you can, ask questions, and very much ask questions, and we'll be happy to answer it. Like I said, everybody does have that rookie year. We all come in frazzled. I still remember my rookie year. I've coached both First Lego League and First Tech Challenge. The programs can be very overwhelming at first because you just don't know even where to start. What are the goals? What needs to be done? It's okay. Just ask questions. We'll be happy to answer them for you. And our goal here is to make sure you're going to have fun. And we want to make sure your team is ready and participates in that first competition. That's really our goal here, is to make sure you're having just as much fun as the kids. And if you're not, let's talk about maybe what your priorities are in terms of what is your goals with the team? What are you trying to get to? What is the sticking points? And we're happy to be there to help you out. As I said, we do record these Coaches Corners, and we'll post them online for you. So if you do happen to miss one of these sessions, they know that you will be able to go back and review them. I also post online all of my presentation slides, which includes my presenter notes. In fact, the notes for this year are already posted. I mean, for this, I should not this year, but this particular session already posted. We maintain them in a public Google Drive folder that we call the FLLC public resource folder. The QR code there will take you to it. If you are a veteran coach, it's the same folder from prior year. Just last year, we started making this a static link. But all the resources are sitting there for you. That folder contains not only the presentation slides, it will contain the future recordings, but also for workshops, it contains all the resources and presentations there. And when we start to get into competition portion of the year, it'll have information for you there as well. So you'll use the same link, the same folder all season long to get to these resources. All right, so in this hour-long session tonight, I do have a lot to cover. This is probably the most busy and most packed full. I'm trying not to say impactful. They're all impactful. This is the most content you're going to get in these coaches corners tonight, because I kind of want to make sure you have a good foundation of going through this season. So we're going to go over 4 topics. The first is I want to cover First Nevada resources that are here to help you out as a coach. And then I'm going to move over to the team resources. What should you be? What should you use? Boy, I'm tongue-tied tonight. What should you use with your team members during practice, along with the challenge resources that are must and essentials in getting through the season? And then I'm going to end our session tonight just reminding you of a few administrative tasks that you should be thinking about and completing at this early point in the season. So let's dive in. As I said, the first section I want to cover here is the First Nevada resources. So First Nevada is a nonprofit organization. We do provide service for FIRST events all throughout the state. So we support everywhere from the southern part in Las Vegas, all the way up north, all the way through Reno, Elko, and everywhere in between. We not only provide support for First Lego League Challenge teams, but we also support and provide events for our First Lego League Explorer events, as well as our First Tech Challenge and our First Robotics competition. Our nonprofit organization is really all about delivering all of the suite of FIRST programs throughout the entire state. So if you do have questions about not only First Lego League Challenge, what we're talking about tonight, but any of the other programs, either the Explorer ones that feed into this one, or the First Tech Challenge or First Robotics competitions that your students might graduate into, please feel free to ask us questions. We can tell you all about it. And you're always welcome to check out those other events as well. Now, one of the most confusing things about what we do is that we aren't the only FIRST organization out there. There is another organization called Just FIRST. I shouldn't say Just FIRST, it's FIRST quotes just. So FIRST, what we call headquarters, they are a partner organization for us. And if you want to think about it this way, FIRST headquarters is the ones that develop the annual challenges. So this year we're going to be doing the Submerged Challenge. They're responsible for coming up with that game every year. They're responsible for defining the rules of how we implement the game. And so they are the ones you're going to register your team with. Then separately, there is First Nevada. And our responsibility is for delivering that game to you. So we're here to host the events for you, to provide support for you as a coach, to answer your questions. So it's an agreement we have with FIRST headquarters. They develop the game, and then we deliver it locally. And one of the many places this comes up, we'll talk about later as well, is that you pay a registration fee to FIRST headquarters to become a team, but then you separately pay a First Nevada season fee to participate in our events locally. So as part of this, just recognize there are 2 FIRST organizations out there. When you need information, you will have to go to 2 different websites depending on what that information is. If you're interested in the rules of the game, you'll go to the FIRST website. And if you're interested in where the event is or logistics about the event, you'll go to the First Nevada website. And this every year I get great questions about, well, didn't I already pay that fee, or where do we go to sign up for our events? I just want to put this out front of the whole season to let you know there are 2 separate organizations. We do brand ourselves similarly, But depending on if you're interested in knowing about how the game is being implemented, that's the first headquarters. If you're interested in the events or the support for you as a coach, go to First Nevada. If this is confusing, always come to us first. We'll answer your question and we'll direct you to the best resource for you. All right, so it does take quite a large, well, I used to say a village, but this year we're going to call ourselves the dive team. It takes us a whole dive team to actually deliver the first LEGO League program here in Nevada. So there I am on the left. I'm Luis Rubo. As I said, I wear 2 hats with First Nevada. I am the team development education specialist. I'm also the program delivery partner for First LEGO League. In support of the First LEGO League program, we also have Caroline Hansen. She's in the north. You'll meet her, all of our northern teams. You'll meet her at all of our events. In the south is the hype man. We call him Jory. Jory's running our events down here in the south as well. In addition to these individuals, we have we have a large population of other people helping out. You'll meet our first senior mentors, both of which are on tonight's call. We have Angelo in the south and Inami in the north as well. And other people, there's many others. Scott Duncan, who's helping me tonight record these. A lot of you already know him. He's in the north and is gladly to help out as well. Who do you email? You can email any of us. We all work very closely together, meet quite regularly. Email whoever you can get to your keyboard first with. We'll happily answer your question. If in doubt, you can more than welcome to email me, and if I can't answer it, or if it's more appropriate for Jory or Caroline, I'll send it off to them instead. All right, the first most important resource I need to share with you is our First Nevada season calendar, or our calendar of events. This is posted on our website, so if you go to firstnevada.org and you go over to the events tab, you'll end up at this calendar. This is a dynamic calendar, and what I mean by dynamic is that all of the events on there, as we get information for them, we're going to update this calendar. So if you wanted to know tonight what the agenda was for the Coaches Corner, you would navigate to this calendar, click on the Coaches Corner title, and you would get a pop-up window with additional information about what we're going to discuss this evening. When it comes to our workshops and our qualifying events, you would navigate over to those events, click on the title, you'll get a pop-up window, and in those cases, you'll also get registration forms. So if you're interested in attending, say, our Robot in a Day workshop, which is coming up very rapidly, then you would go to this calendar, go to September 21st, and click on the Robot in a Day workshop, and inside that pop-up window will be a link to our registration form. Don't worry, I'm going to cover it again later in tonight's call, but I just want to point you to this resource. Really, a lot of the questions we get can be answered by going here first and clicking on the event that you have a question about, and a lot of that information is already there for you. So speaking of workshops and other support events for you as a coach, throughout the season, we're going to host a handful of workshops that are meant to help you and your team get ready for our competitions. Now, the workshops themselves are designed to be a collaboration between you, the coach, and your students. So the students are encouraged to come along and enjoy the experience themselves. You as a coach, you're there to help us out, kind of, as we say, wrangle the cats, but you're also learning about the actual process of, say, building a robot or programming it as well. It's a very hands-on experience. Although some of our events our workshops are multi-hours, in the case of the Robot in a Day, almost the full day, the time flies by because we're constantly working with the robots. We're constantly on a program. So they're a great way for your team members to learn about the First LEGO League program. And again, the workshops are really designed for the kids first, and the coaches kind of learning through osmosis, being around them. For coaches, we have our Coaches Corners. These are designed exclusively for you, where we'll touch on topics that aren't appropriate for the workshops, because what we're going to get into is the nitty-gritty details about actually coaching a team. So we'll talk about the administrative tasks and the best practices. Here's our schedule for this season. In terms of Coaches Corners, we're going to host 4 of them. I used to call them monthly, but we do have 2 Coaches Corners in October. So if you allow me to call the October 29th one a November meeting, then we have our Coaches Corners monthly. So we'll have 4 of them. Of course, tonight is the first one. And then on the right-hand column there, you see we have a list of our workshops. So our first workshop coming up is on September 21st. It is our Robot in a Day workshop. I'm going to discuss more details about that later in this meeting. On that same day, after the Robot in a Day workshop, we're going to have a kickoff celebration. On October 1st, we're going to do a virtual meeting for coaches really only, where we're going to discuss the innovation project. This is a workshop that we introduced last year and didn't expect this. We posted on YouTube and had over 7,500 viewers. Clearly, we don't have 7,500 teams in Nevada, so a lot of people got a lot of info out of this. And so we thought, let's do it again. And so on October 1st, we're going to have an innovation project coaches clinic. It's going to be a coaches corner, but just focused on the innovation project. October 5th is a half-day next level programming workshop. We'll have that one in Reno and Las Vegas. The Elko version will follow up on October 19th. And on October 19th, throughout the state, we'll have our scrimmages. As we get closer to the scrimmage, I'll talk a little bit more about it, but I really want to encourage all of our teams to attend. A scrimmage is not the sense that you think about it, say, in sports. It's really more of a learning type workshop where we give you more ideas and we are there to answer your questions about the robot game and judging. So do mark your calendars. All of our Coaches Corners are on Tuesday nights at 7. Our workshops, our in-person workshops, are all on a Saturday. The Innovation Project Coaches Clinic on October 1st is a Tuesday night, and that'll be for an hour. And thank you, Kim, for that nice statement in there. I love it. Yeah, and then just as I'm saying it, Kim is saying for those Southern teams, we're actually going to be at her school again this year for the next level program workshop. So for our veteran coaches, this is the big change for you. This year, our qualifying tournaments are going to be in November. So we're going to have all 3 weekends in the front end of November hosting our qualifying events. So November 9th, we'll have events in Reno and in Las Vegas. November 16th, we're in Carson City and Las Vegas. And November 23rd, we're in Elko in Las Vegas. So for our veteran coaches, we are doing this a month earlier than we had in the prior seasons. In those seasons, we had our qualifiers in December. And there's a number of reasons for moving them up. One of them is for our volunteers who volunteer in other programs. We were kind of burning them out. Other challenges we were facing is when we start to get into the springtime, we start facing athletics in terms of playoffs. And the other thing is I hope to hear back from you about is that it's nice to have all of First Lego League wrapped up as you go into your holiday break. So you won't have to think about coaching or preparing for an event post-holidays. So yeah, our qualifiers are all going to be in November this year. And our state championships are going to be in December. December 14th, we'll have a championship in Reno as well as Las Vegas. We'll talk more in a future Coaches Corner about advancing from the qualifiers to the state championships. About 30% of our teams make that jump. And then we'll also talk in a future Coaches Corner about how many of our teams move from the state championships to the ultimate goal of the World Championship, which is in Houston this year, or actually next year on the calendar year, April 16th to the 19th. Just a quick thing, common question I do get, you only attend 1 qualifier, not 3 of them. So you'll pick your favorite qualifier that's most convenient for you and your team. The state championships you don't register for, you're invited to based on your performance at the qualifiers. And likewise, the World Championship will more than likely only send 1 team to that championship this year. So our main source of information from me to you is going to be by email. I've been sending these out now twice a month. These are our newsletters that we send to our coaches. As a coach, once you are registered with First, we pull your name and your email address that you use with First, and we automatically add you to our distribution list. Then you will receive these emails regularly. You don't have to sign up for them. If you have an additional coach or a parent interested in receiving this information, they're welcome to go to the firstnevada.org website, and they can sign up and add themselves to our distribution list as well. For First Lego League Challenge, I try to send these out on the first and third Monday of each month. So you only have to read 2 of these newsletters per month. They are the primary source of information. So I do kind of expect you are reading these. They include a lot of hyperlinks to things like your registrations, or if there's ancillary information you need, or in the case of these last few months, for grants that you may have been trying to apply for. But these newsletters are your first source of information. All other information you get out there is going to be either redundant or kind of peripheral to the information you get here. So do keep an eye on your inbox. The first and third Mondays of the month is when you'll see these newsletters coming to you. All right, so as a community, we do maintain now 2 different places. The first one is our Facebook group. This is a private Facebook group here where you're welcome to join if you have Facebook. What we do here is we post information. Again, all that stuff's coming through your newsletter, but we will repeat a lot of that key information here, or we'll put fun other information in here or reminders of events on our Facebook group. If you don't use Facebook, you're not missing out on any information. It's just another avenue for us to share information to our coaches. It also provides a space for coaches to ask questions. So occasionally we'll have a coach just post a question in there, or in a rare case, we might have a coach say, hey, we're getting ready to retire. We have some equipment we need to transfer. Whatever, we use this as a community building space, but we also recognize not everyone's on Facebook. So we don't use this as a primary source of information. It's just a supplementary source. So you're welcome to join. I do encourage you to. If you're on Facebook, it's just another way to get that key information to pass through you. Now, just today, we went live with using Slack for our coaches. So just today, you should have received 2 emails. One of them originated from Slack itself, and one of them was from me kind of explaining to you that invitation. So what is Slack? It's a business communication tool. It is not a social media platform. It is a way for businesses usually to organize projects and to share information. We are going to pilot it this year as a way to have coaches ask us questions and get quicker responses. But it's also, and really the primary focus of this, is to have coaches have peer-to-peer mentoring. Every year we provide surveys to our teams and we get feedback on ways to improve. One of the biggest things that we hear is we would love to have coaches be able to ask other coaches advice or to get some insight or just to get a quick feedback. This is really the platform for it. So everyone's encouraged to join Slack. But again, I do want to emphasize, this is not going to be our primary source of information. It's going to be secondary. It's going to be supplementary, where we add or what we do is repeat information you get from the newsletters or from other sites. I've already been posting in it. We've had a quiet soft launch for about a week now. I've been putting things in there, some resources that you might find helpful. A lot of the same information is in our Facebook group. But we really want to test this out this season to see if coaches want to have discussions with each other, or it's a nice way to have a quick question dialogue between you, the coach, us, First Nevada, or just to ask questions amongst each other. So that is a lot of information. Are there any questions? I see the chat is blowing up. I'm going to pause here. You can either ask a question in the chat or feel free to unmute yourself and ask verbally if you like. Scott, is there anything you've noticed that I need to address here?
I mean, I think we're getting them one at a time here. There were questions about whether the all team members had to be registered. Yes, they do. In the first system, question about how long it takes for background checks, things of that nature.
And we learned a lesson last year on that topic. Most of the time, background checks are 24, 48 hours type time frame. However, there are certain parts of Nevada that seem to take upwards of weeks. So if you're in a very rural spot, and sometimes, unfortunately, heard back, it just takes a little longer. But for the majority coaches, it is pretty quick turnaround. Good. All righty. Well, continue to add questions to the chat. We will have more opportunities to stop and pause. What I do want to transition is from the First Nevada resources to more of what is available to you as a coach to help you when you go to your team meetings and you're working directly with the students. Well, the first resource I want to tell you about are the engineering notebooks. So when you register your team, one of the items you get is a couple of these engineering notebooks. You'll get a couple hard copies, but you can also get a digital version for free by going to that QR code. These engineering notebooks are an amazing tool to help your teams out. These are, in a sense, the diary, the place for your students to keep their notes for the season as they progress from the very beginning to the competition. It also gives guidance on what the students should be working on inside of each team meeting. So I really would encourage you to, as a coach, to take a look at these engineering notebooks and make sure they end up in the hands of your students. Now, the use of these engineering notebooks are not a requirement. So you're not required to actually use them or bring them to the competition. They're really a tool to facilitate discussions, to prompt thoughts, imagination as you work through the season. Again, this is a tool meant for your students. So you really want to make sure they're the ones interacting with the engineering notebooks to keep track of everything and all the achievements they accomplished throughout the year. For you coaches, there is the team meeting guide. The team meeting guide is really the lesson plans for you. And as I show you here, if I go back and forth between the two screens, what you'll see is the engineering notebook has a version. The team meeting guide takes that same version, shrinks it down, and then wraps it around the edges with additional information for you, the coach. When you register your team, you should get a team meeting guide in the mail, but you can also access a digital version using the QR code there. This is really your guide from the beginning of the season to the very end. This is the things, the resources that you should be guiding your students through during the meetings. Now, like with the engineering notebook, it's not a requirement that you use this resource, but if you're a new and young team or a new coach to the program, this is a wonderful tool of what do we do now? It kind of walks you through it. The other thing I really love about the team meeting guide is it sets a good pace that you can do just a little bit of work all season long. And in fact, one of the resources in the team meeting guide is a breakdown of a meeting by meeting agenda of what you should be accomplishing with your team. Now, this is only a suggestion. The suggested timeline that they provide is 12 meetings over the season, with each meeting lasting 2 hours. Not everybody can do that. So you can break up these meetings accordingly. A lot of times what I suggest is rather than doing 2-hour meetings, maybe meet twice a week for an hour at a time. But the idea of this team meeting guide and this suggested timeline is it breaks down, okay, in meeting 3, what should your team be focusing on? In meeting 8 or 9 late in the season, what should you be working on? How do you actually prepare for an event? When do you start working on an innovation project? All of these are kind of guided through the team meeting guide. And so for our rookie coaches, our young coaches who are just joining us in this program, I would really point you to this as a resource to help you guide you as a coach through the season. But again, it's only suggestion. As you become more veteran, you may never even open this up. You have your own way of getting through this season. But for our new coaches, it is a wonderful tool and it really does help out. One of the things that First has done is it's taken those 12 meetings and it has put together PowerPoint presentations for each of those meetings. So you can actually go to the website here, which I have linked to in that QR code, and you can download PowerPoint slides for each of those meetings. I've already had a couple coaches this year ask me, all right, what do I do in the first meeting? And I point them to this. There is an intro slide deck here that gets the team started. You can see it there on the bottom right. Let's get started. Kind of gives you an idea of what should you do in that very first meeting. Again, this is a very powerful resource in helping you get through the season. And that first has provided you not only the team meeting guide of lessons, but it also has the supporting slide decks that you can show the students and kind of give you prompts for them to have great discussions during your team meetings. Now, one of the little secrets I do have to share about the team meeting guide and the engineering notebook is it kind of assumes you jump in with a robot. It doesn't actually walk you through the building of a robot. And for that, there's two things I'd point you to. One is you could go and you could download the build instructions for one of these two robots. The one on the left there is the basic driving base. The one on the right is the advanced driving base, both using the Spike Prime platform. The instructions are found on that website I linked to there, or you can also find them inside the Spike app. So if your team wants to, you can go and start building this right away. Or separately, if you're interested, on September 21st, we're going to do a Robot in a Day workshop where you can bring with your kids your pile of Legos, and we will guide you through the building of that robot. So it's a great thing you can do here. Either way, build it with your team, or you can come to our workshop and we can help you build it and then guide you on the initial programming for it. So this is one of the little secrets the team meeting guide isn't very clear on, is it does assume you start off with a robot. In its defense, the reason it does that is, legally speaking, you can use not only the Spike Prime, which is the most common Lego robot right now, but you could use one of the older generations, the EV3 or the Lego Mindstorms platforms. So rather than tell you to build a specific robot, the team meeting guide just assumes you have one built. Any questions on those resources?
Yes.
Multiple cancels.
Hello. Had a question regarding the EV3 set. If we go to that build a robot workshop, will that also have instruction for that?
The slides themselves only cover the Spike Prime, but we would happily help you through it. There are other resources I can pull up for you and share with you about building an EV3 robot, but our slides are designed for the Spike Prime one. Thankfully, a lot of the programming is very similar, so coming to the workshop will still be very helpful.
Thank you.
Yeah. Kim there. I always enjoy the workshop, especially I always enjoy taking it apart for them to build. Yep. Great. Go ahead, Jill.
So when we go to the workshop, do we need to bring stuff with us?
Great question. The answer is yes. So we do ask that the teams bring with them their robot and a laptop. And the laptop, ideally, and I'll email all of our teams that register for this ahead of time, but we would ask that you pre-install the Spike software on there ahead of time. It's a very quick install and it's free, but it just saves us some time the day of. But yeah, so you would want to bring the two things, the laptop that you can program on and your Spike robot. Yeah. Good. And when teams register, what I do is I'll send out an email to them about a week in advance to remind them of that. Yep. Good. Oh, and Farrah, you're asking a really good question. Lego updated the Spike app to make it more streamlined. And so they did remove some of the blocks to make and combine them. And that happened, what was it, last spring or last?
Approximately November of 2023.
Yeah. Yeah. So about 8-9 months ago, or 10-ish months. Yeah. All righty. So let's talk about the challenge resources. So far I've talked about the resources First Nevada provides. I've also talked about the resources to you as a coach as you're working with your team. What I want to narrow in on are the very important challenge resources that every team should be referring to as they work their way through the season. The most important website that you really should bookmark as a coach is the Challenge Updates and Resources webpage. This is the site where you gather everything and anything that is absolutely essential to running your team. This site will have your welcome letter, which is nice to read through, but it also has links to the team meeting guide, the engineering notebook, the robot game rulebook, which we'll talk about in a moment, and the challenge updates. It also has links to the judging rubrics and also the scoring sheets. So everything you need is linked to off of this page in some fashion or form. So everyone should have this one bookmarked, and you should frequent it, especially because the challenge updates quite a bit throughout the season. This is not only for you, this is also for your students as well. If you allow them to work online, you do want to point them here to go grab a couple resources for your team. A lot of things can be downloaded ahead of time, though, so you definitely can do that to help your team out. But this is where you go to grab those resources. So earlier when I said there's a digital version of the team meeting guide and the engineering notebook, this is where it's posted. The other website you really should know about is firstlegoleague.org. It is an official website that hosts all the key information that you will need in addition to what was on that previous one. In fact, a lot of the information on this website is redundant. It's just presented in a different format. The one major difference here is this is the website that hosts the mission model build instructions. It's also the website that has those meeting slides that I referenced earlier. So between the last page and this slide here, these are the two websites as a coach you really want to point your team to all throughout the season. These are the sites where you go and you get those essential information that helps you get to the competition. Again, I'm reminding you, going back to that first topic, there's First and there's First Nevada. This is the material coming from First. This is all about how do you prepare for the events. This is what you're doing during practice. This is where you get the challenge documents. This is the what are you doing as a team during the prep part. As I mentioned before, and I just want to reiterate this, when you register your team, one of the things you can purchase, and most teams do, is the challenge set. The challenge set is the mission models and the mat itself. And every year we get the questions, where are the build instructions for those mission models? Inside the box you get, there should be a little QR code that can guide you to it. But here's where they are. They're on that website I just shared with you. What you would do is you would scroll down, and there's a section in there called Mission Model Building Instructions. And when you click on the View button on the right, it gives you an expanded version where it has bag by bag instructions on how to build it. I should say model by model, because some of the models take multiple bags there. Also, if in the strangest of cases, and occasionally does happen, if you are missing a piece, there's information on this exact same site right there. It'll describe what you should do if your team happens to be missing a piece. I will tell you, it's very, very rare that Lego doesn't put a piece in there, but once in a great while it does happen. So if you are missing pieces, there's a place to go to contact that information. So again, if you are looking for the mission model build instructions, you go to firstlegoleague.org, and then you will scroll down on the Seasons tab to the Mission Model Building Instructions section. The document that I really want to stand on my soapbox and tell everyone to read is the Robot Game Rulebook. So the big hook that brings everyone together is the robot game. It's only 25% of the overall program itself when it comes to the final awards distribution, but it's the thing that happens the loudest, the most eye-catching, and for a number of people, it's the most fun part, where you build the robot to solve the missions. The Robot Game Rulebook is where you find the rules about not only how the robot can be built, but also how is it going to be scored when it solves the missions. We do hope and assume that everybody has read through this. Now, as a coach, you should read through it maybe once, twice at most. Just become familiar with what's in it. What you really should be doing is having your team members read through this, and they're the ones that really should be the expert. So when one of your student members comes running up to you during a practice and says, Coach, is this allowed? You tell them, well, what does the rule book say? And ask them to go back and review what's in the Robot Game Rulebook. And it might be confusing. And if it is confusing, that's when you go to either Slack or Facebook in our groups and say, hey, our team is thinking about this and we're a little confused. How would it be scored? Let us know what your confusion is. The other thing is, come to the scrimmage and ask the referees directly, my team's a little confused how this is going to be scored. That's what the scrimmage is all about, is we have that dialogue, that discussion of clarifying it. There's a lot of fuzzy grayness when it comes to some of these missions. And so we want to hear from you what you're thinking about and get clarifications. With that said, though, this rulebook does a great job of explicitly explaining the basic rules. So what is allowed on the robot? How long are the matches? When will the teams receive a penalty for grabbing the robot? How are the missions individually scored? It does a really nice job of outlining that. Yep. And as Scott put there, please read the Robot Game Rulebook. A lot of the sad faces that we see at an event can a lot of times be traced back to a misunderstanding or just not having read this rulebook. So what's in there, as I said, it not only describes the missions, but the later half of the rule book describes exactly what a match is like. So what is the team going to do before the match begins? How do they approach the table and set up the robot? What happens during the match? What happens after the match? So it does a nice little breakdown of what to expect when you're at a competition. Again, we will walk through this at a scrimmage. And so we do encourage all of our teams to attend a scrimmage so you can see this in person without the full scoring going on. It's a great time to ask questions, to get some feedback, get some encouragement. But for now, definitely read that Robot Game Rulebook because it describes those rules that are so important and sometimes can confuse our teams. Questions on those resources? I'm going to just skim through the chat here. Yeah, and so someone's asking how many of our teams use Python versus word blocks. I'm totally with Scott. I think in this state I've seen it maybe once or twice. It's really the teams that have been around for multiple years at the championship level. Ninami, very good point. The Robot Game Rulebook, it gets written and put together months, if not a year in advance of the event of the season. So there's always these loopholes and clarifications that need to happen. And Inami reminds us, first publishes updates. Those updates are official rules. So do make sure you check the website. She put in a link there into the chat as a way to get those updates through the season. Very good. Well, the last section I want to touch on is what are the necessary administrative tasks that you should be thinking about as a coach right now? Well, let's go back to where we started tonight. A reminder that there are two FIRST nonprofit organizations involved. There is FIRST Headquarters. They are the organization that you register your team with. That registration is $250. That registration makes you an official team, and that will get you hard copies of a team meeting guide and engineering notebooks. That makes you official as a team. We, First Nevada, are a separate nonprofit organization. We are the ones that host things like these coaches corners. We're the ones that host the workshops, the scrimmage, and ultimately the qualifiers and state championships. To fund and support those events, we asked our teams to pay $150 season fee. So it's different than the registration fee. It's a separate fee. That was paid to First Nevada. So you will have two different fees. Now, the registration fee that you pay for headquarters, you do that through the First Inspires website. You do that when you first set things up. The season fee, the way that gets paid is that once you're registered as a team, you will receive an email that is sent to the lead coach with an invoice to pay that $150 season fee. You don't go anywhere. There's not a website to go to pay it. We will email you an invoice that is generated from our QuickBooks. You will pay that invoice electronically. So you don't need to go anywhere on the web. We will send you an email to the lead coach to have you pay that $150 season fee. As my understanding, I think we're more or less caught up. That all the teams that are fully registered, you should have been invoiced by now. And we do ask that you pay this as soon as possible, because starting this Saturday at 10 a.m., teams are going to be invited to start registering for their qualifiers. At that point, though, what we're going to do is open up our qualifier registration form. And as part of that registration form, you're going to be asked to put in a number from your receipt from paying that season fee. So your team must have paid their $150 First Nevada season fee before they can register for their qualifier. Then what you'll do is you'll go to this website. In fact, it's already live. It just says the form is not active yet. You'll go to this Google form, and you'll just click on which of the events your team is going to compete at this year. And you have your choice again from November 9th, 16th, or 23rd. So I've gotten a couple of these questions, and it's a little confusing. Some people ask me, do you register for your qualifier through your first dashboard? The answer is no. What you actually do is use this Google form to do it, and it's not even open yet. It'll open up this Saturday, September 14th. And just a heads up, as part of signing up for your qualifier, you have to have paid your First Nevada season fee first.
Hey, Rubo?
Yeah.
Rubo? Yeah, I think you had a raised hand, so that person wants to go ahead. But also, there was a question that just came up from Farahida there that I don't know the answer to, so it might be good to respond to that. She's asking if you sign up for a qualifier, which, as you said, isn't open yet. But if you sign up for a qualifier and you change which qualifier you're going to go to, how do you do that?
So for that one, I do ask that you try to commit to the one you sign up for, but I understand things happen. You will shoot me an email, and then you will send me a fat check in the mail as a bribe. No, what you'll do is just send me an email, and we'll work through trying to get you into a qualifier that's more fitting for your team. But we do ask that as best you can, try to sign up only for the one you expect you can attend. But we can make things happen if you do need it. Kim asked, although Kim answered her own question, if you are still one of those Tesla sponsored teams, where do you get it? As Leilani is completely involved with this, Leilani Pavlik, as many of us know, she's been forwarding the payment receipts to our lead coach. So you do have that information. Teresa, go ahead. Yep. Bottom. Yep. There you go.
Okay, I was wondering how do we know? I know we got a receipt, but I thought we had already paid it. How can we check to make sure that it had been paid?
So is that for which item? The
For
registration?
the Nevada First?
You should have received an email that looks like this on the right-hand side or something similar. And you should see you paid this First Nevada. This is actually from 2 years ago, but it should be very similar. And I'll tell you the number I'm looking for is you're going to have to tell me something about this authorization ID. And that should have been sent to your lead coach. Yeah.
Okay, so I am the lead coach, and
yeah,
they told me that that was paid through our school, that they already paid it, but I have not gotten this saying that we have paid it.
Okay, so the other thing that can happen is if you had like a school administrator pay it, they may have received it instead. The receipt may have gone back to whoever actually made the payment. Send me an email on the side as a reminder. If tomorrow you go back in and they don't find the receipt, just let me know and we'll figure that out.
Otherwise, we can just pay it right to where that receipt tells us to, or the invoice tells us to pay it.
So if you haven't paid it, yes, yeah. If you have not paid your season fee yet, the instructions in the invoice will tell you where to go to pay that. So
Okay,
you do it all
thank
electronically.
you.
Yeah. Good questions. Yeah, and so this is new this year, and so our veteran coaches, just a heads up, this is how we're going to sign up for qualifiers this year. We've tried different things in the past. We experimented. Some things worked, some things didn't. So we're going to try to use the Google form, and you have to be registered. You have to pay your season fee, and registration will open up on Saturday, September 14th at 10 a.m. And as soon as you can, we do like you to sign up for the event that you're most likely to go to. That would help us out. Okay, so we do have workshops coming up. I've already hinted at those. We do have a Robot in a Day workshop, which is on September 21st. We will have it in 3 different locations on that day. We'll be in Elko, Reno, and Las Vegas for that. During the Robot in a Day workshop, what we'll do is we'll start off by building a robot. So you will come into the workshop with just a bucket of loose bricks. And then what we'll do is guide you through that building of that robot. We'll take a little snack break, and then after our snack break, we'll walk you through the beginnings of programming, and we will solve a mission. In fact, that's the mission there we'll solve together. So by the time you finish with that Robot in a Day workshop, your team will go from a pile of Legos to a scoring robot that can do one of the missions. And then remember, again, the kids are doing the work here, so we're empowering them with that knowledge so that they can go back to their practices and get ready to do other missions as well. We do ask that you do register for our workshops so that we do have a head count and make sure that we have enough space for everybody. So if you're intending to join us those days, excuse me, please do fill out the registration form. Now, on that same day, but after the Robot in a Day workshop, we are going to do a kickoff celebration. It's going to be on Saturday, September 21st, but it's going to follow the Robot in a Day workshop. This is going to be a 2-hour long, we're calling it a celebration. The idea is that what we're going to do for 2 hours is we're going to talk about the other aspects of the First Lego League program with a very specific eye on the submerged season. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a hands-on activities with the students where we're going to guide them through the thought process of how do you approach the robot game, how do you approach the innovation project, and we'll throw in some core value activities to have some fun. This is a separate event. Even though it happens on the same day at the same location, we are going to break it into 2 events. We're expecting that the Robot in a Day is going to be mostly aimed at our rookie teams or maybe teams with a lot of student turnover. So not everybody will be interested in that Robot in a Day workshop. The kickoff celebration, though, might be for everybody because now our veterans were going to come in and think about the submerged season. They'll be interested in hearing about the changes to this year, There are some other big changes about judging that we'll talk about during this kickoff celebration. So we have broken them apart into 2 separate events. We do ask that you register for each event separately. They do have separate registration forms. You do not have to pay a fee for these. All of these are supported through those season fees. So those teams that have registered, and when you pay your season fees, that's how we cover these operations. The other major workshop coming up in the near future is our next level programming workshop. This is a half an hour, not half an hour, wow, that'd be short, a half day workshop where we'll go from 9 to noon on a Saturday morning. It'll be on October 5th in Reno and Las Vegas, and we'll do it on October 19th in Elko. During this workshop, your team will bring an already built robot to us, and we'll dive into some of the more advanced ideas related to programming that robot. And we'll do it with the Submerged season in mind. So we'll focus on a mission or 2 and thinking about how to program the robot to solve those missions. It's a great hands-on workshop again, because we have the students program, go to the table, test it, and go back and forth and learn all about how to get those ideas from their minds into the computer and having the robot actually do it. Cassandra, go ahead.
So my team this year is very interested in all of the events that are going on. The problem is we're out here in Round Mountain. So
oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, we're 4 hours from Elko, or from Vegas, 4 hours from Reno. Elko's like 3.5 hours, so it's a little bit closer. So it makes it hard to attend the events. And will there be any virtual options for attending like the next level programming workshop or anything like that?
So we don't have, because it is such a hands-on, for example, the next level programming workshop is a 3-hour long workshop from 9 to noon. The instructors are only talking for about 45 minutes. So much of that time is just the students themselves doing the activities. And so we don't really have a virtual counterpart in the moment. However, all of the slides are online for these workshops. So as a coach, you could go and take this material and just do it locally. And I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you have about what did you mean on this slide? And the slides themselves all have presenter notes to dive deeper into and help you out. And they have hyperlinks to more resources. So although it's not as equivalent to being there in person or doing a virtual component, it still can give you the same information. It just would lean more on you as a coach to deliver it. And so hopefully that helps at least some level to get the information. Yeah. And like I said, go ahead, Scott.
I was just going to chime in and say, as additional options, we do have office hours. Actually, we had office hours right before this meeting. And we can always schedule a time specifically with your team, too, if the office hours don't line up. And you communicate with us about, if you're needing additional help, or like Rubo said, if you've gone through the content and still have questions, we can try to connect that way, more one-on-one, to try to answer those questions or walk you through it. And I think in addition to that, if you were going to attend one event in Elko, I might recommend, before the qualifier, I might recommend the scrimmage, because then you'll have people there hands-on, again, at the event, who again can answer questions or show you things, on the laptop about programming. So it's not a replacement necessarily for the robot in a day or the next level programming, but it might be an opportunity, to get that one-on-one, help that you might want or need for your team.
Yep. And awesome. I apologize. Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say thank you. That sounds perfect. Being able to pop in during the office hours or schedule a time just so that they can kind of be able to participate. Because, we're kind of thinking scrimmage and qualifier, not so much everything.
And I apologize, Scott. The office hours is something we quietly piloted last year. This year, we're rolling out more intensively. So I forgot to put that slide in here. So to just talk about that a little bit, Scott is very graciously hosting regular office hours. If you go to our firstnevada.org website, in fact, let me scroll back here real quick. If you go to our calendar of events, you can see the office hours of when they're available to your team. And so you can click on, and he spread them out pretty good to be hopefully accessible to everybody at some point. And that's a great resource. And I apologize to Scott for not adding it to the presentation tonight. That does bring me to the last slide. We are at an hour. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stay online, answer more questions. I don't have any more to share tonight, but I will stick around and answer questions as you have them. So let's see. Farah, is the kickoff event on 9/21 limited coaches and teams? So Farah, that's a great question. I haven't looked at the registration numbers exactly yet, but we would ask that only the students, the team members, and the coaches attend, and that's more dictated by our space limitation, that we just don't have the room for all the parents to hang out. Although we are at Northwest CTA in the banquet space. I just need to look at the registration numbers. But for now, I would ask that you plan for just the students and the coaches to attend, just because of space limitations.
Rubo,
and
do you
yeah,
think it would be okay if parents showed up just for the kickoff part? Or is it still, I'm not sure what the space is down there, but just the idea that
it comes down to the space limitations. Caroline messaged me earlier. We don't have a lot of teams signed up in the north, so we might have more space in the north. In the south, I need to look at the numbers and compare them to the capacity of the room. We are planning on doing hands-on activities, so we'll need some elbow space. I will communicate to the registered teams when I have a better balance and feel for where we're at. I mean, the primary focus is on the students getting that experience. Good question here. Can you please show me how I can teach step-by-step programming to my students? That will be covered in both workshops. We'll start in the Robot in a Day workshop. We'll actually walk through some of the programming, the basics, and then the next level programming will provide that. The other resource I'd point you to as a coach, if you're interested, is Prime Lessons. If you go to that website, which we'll talk about more quite a bit this season, Prime Lessons is a wonderful website for learning how to code these robots. It's my go-to lesson as well. And as well, if you join Slack, we can have side discussions about great resources. Nanami just threw in there a link for you as well. Good. Other questions, thoughts, concerns, worries that you might have as we go into this season? I'm really excited for this season. The missions are so colorful. Yeah. I'm also curious to see what a desert team comes up with oceans, which is a nice little challenge. But it's there. Their connections are there. It's just going to be fun to make that connection. Yeah. Great. So yeah, just again, a reminder, the slides from tonight's presentation is in our public resource folder. You can download those already, and we will move the recording in there probably within a day or so as well. All right, last call for questions. If not, everyone. So where can you find the recording? Is I will put it in the public resource folder, and like I said, it'll probably take a day or so. And if I remember, I'll link to it in Slack and Facebook as well. Thank you, Kim, for hosting. Again, I'll be in touch. All right, everyone, have a good evening. We'll start seeing everyone in person on September 21st. Can't wait to see the kids again this year.